Hello again, class. I'd like to put together another CSS layout for you, this time incorporating some Photoshop and some images that I create and then build the layout, the CSS layout structure in Dreamweaver. So hopefully this will give you a few more tips. Now what I'm going to show you today is there's not a whole lot of brand new things to it. There will be a few new things, but overall you kind of know the concept. This will just give you another example of how you can put together a site. So what I have here is I'm starting in Photoshop this time, make it a little bit different. Now again, this class I'm not going to try to teach you Photoshop. I'll show you a few of the basics. If you'd rather use Fireworks, that's fine, or a program like Paint Shop Pro. And if you don't have any graphics program, there are some free options. You can drop me an email. I can give you some tips on that. But probably a lot of you do have some kind of graphics program, or you're taking Photoshop so that you know a little bit about it. So I've started a brand new canvas in Photoshop. Now how do I arrive at this size canvas? If I go to image size, it's a 1000 by 620. Well, let me switch back to Dreamweaver, and you can see at the bottom of Dreamweaver I've already got my site set up. Here's the size that I arrived at, and that's maximized to 1024 by 768. So that means that you're going to be creating a website that will fit into that 1024 by 768 with no horizontal or vertical scrolling. Okay, back to Photoshop. So that's kind of like my mock-up, my base canvas that I'm going to be using to create this site. Now what I'm doing this on is a fan site for this Chevy Impala, which I happen to think is a pretty cool car. They don't make them anymore, this version with the V8. But I'm going to use that image, and then I'm going to use this little logo as well, just to generate a title for the page. So first thing I'll do is I'll start with the car, and I'm just going to resize it and crop it to what I think is going to fit into my website. I don't have an example of what this site looks like right now. I'm just building it for you, so it may not turn out perfect because I don't already have the site built, but you should be able to get a good idea. First thing I'm going to do is crop. So I know that I like this widescreen look, so I'm going to crop so that I only get this section of the car. This is going to kind of sit right in the middle of my page, underneath the title and underneath the menu. I could use it as a background in a division tag, or I could use it as just a decoration, just the photo, or I could do 3 or 4 of these photos and put together a little JavaScript thing that changes the photo either automatically or every time the user visits the website, and I could put some content on top of that. Okay, I'll hit return to crop it. Okay, so cropped in this particular size looks pretty good, but let's go to the image and image size and check this out. Now, if I'm building my website, back at the other one, back at the size that I'm looking at of this canvas here, okay, that is 1000 wide. So that means that every division tag that I'm going to be creating in this site is going to be 1000 pixels wide. Now if I want to start building my content so that it fits exactly into my division tags, which is what I would recommend that you do, you'd want to go ahead and resize this image to 1000 pixels wide. Make sure it's 72 dpi and click OK. Alright, and now I'm going to go ahead and save this for the web. So I'm going to do a file save for web. And you can see that is the actual size of it. Now you guys probably should know by now that photos work best as JPEG images. So I'm going to use JPEG and check my quality. I can drop the quality down a little bit if the file size is too large, but I'm comfortable with this size. And then click save. Okay, and then I'm going to save it into my folder. Now what I'm going to start doing for my websites is I'm going to do new folder inside of my website folder called images. And that'll just help me organize a little bit better. And then I'll just call this it's an impala.jpg and click save. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and start building in my mock-up. So I'm going to do an select all, and I'm just going to do an edit copy, come right over here and edit paste. Now there are other ways to do that. You can actually place the bitmap in there. I just happen to copy and paste it because I'm showing you the easiest way to do it. So select all, copy, paste, and you're starting to build your website. Now one thing I do notice here is that this is a little bit large. So this site is going to turn out kind of large. I'm just going to go ahead and build it though. So I probably would want an image that's maybe a little bit shorter than that, but about that wide. Or I could just crop this out a little bit more. Okay, and then let me move that down a little bit. Another thing to do is kind of check the colors. So this silver and blue looks pretty good to me. I might change up that blue a little bit, but I think for now it's fine. Okay, and then I would go ahead and build the look of the site. So let's say I want to build a title at the top and a menu right underneath it. Now the menu, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to build a placeholder, just a rectangle. And then later on I'm going to fill in with some more CSS. Probably next week I'll fill in with the CSS menu. So let me grab the rectangle tool here. And I'll change this background to maybe I could try black. That might work here. And I'll just drop that on the top. So that's what the menu would look like. That's a little bit too dark, so I can change that later in Dreamweaver, because that's where that color is actually going to come from. But just play around with the colors here, kind of see what you like. I'm going to go back to my logo. I'm going to grab this magic wand tool, select, just click here, and then I'm going to do a select inverse. Then I'm going to do an edit copy. Back to my mockup1.psd and do an edit paste. And I could put that wherever I want. You know, I could do an effect where I, fade it out a little bit. Maybe I like it down here at the bottom or part of the picture. In this particular case, I'm just going to use it as the title. So I'm going to place it right here, maybe in the top right, and I'm going to do my edit, free transform, decrease the size of it so it fits a little better. Apply. Okay, I got a little logo in there. And now I'll just drop text. So I'm going to click my text tool. White is all right there. And I'm just going to say Chevy Impala. Can see where I want that. I'm going to move it right up there, and I'm going to put this logo and actually move it just left of that. So I'm just selecting layers, just kind of getting that title the way I want it. It's a little bit large, but again, just because I'm building this kind of on the fly, I'll just leave it the way it is. Another thing I can do is add a quick effect to that Chevy Impala text to make it stand out a little bit better. I didn't spend any time on the font. That's one thing that you would want to spend more time on. But just for the demonstration purposes, I'm not going to spend any time on the font. I'm going to click Effects, add a layer style. You can't see this, but I'm just going to drag down and click Drop Shadow. And I'm talking a little bit about these effects. It's important to look at these effects. They can work if you are subtle about them. So you don't want to make any effect on here that really stands out too much. So this drop shadow that I have is okay. If you start doing that kind of effect where you really see the shadow, that's too much. Just a real subtle shadow to make it stand out. The outer glow can also create a nice effect as well. In that case, it doesn't work very well. And then the stroke also might help it stand out. Okay, so I'm going to click OK. So I've got my title, I've got the menu. Now what you would do, again, this is a simplified example, but what you would do for a client is you'd probably put together a couple mock-ups like this, maybe save them as one big JPEG image, upload them to a website, and then show them to your client. So you've got your mock-up here, and I've got it saved as mockup1.psd. So you save these as PSD files, and you can always come back to them. So this gives me a general idea of what the site's going to look like. I'd probably take some time to actually build in a little interface right here. And what I'm going to do is recreate this look in Dreamweaver with CSS as a layout, no tables or anything, with the design. I'll put in a table later to show you how that might fit in with the website. But all CSS, and then and kind of make it look a little bit better also. So the other thing I need to do is, you remember that I just saved this file as my main image, I need to grab this title really quickly. So I could use slicing, but for just the easiest thing to do, I'm just going to crop this title. Okay, and it's going to snap, so that's all right. Okay, and I'm going to crop it just like that. Okay, so I've got my site title, and now I'll do a file, save for web. Okay, there's my title. Again, this turned out a little bit large as far as what I would recommend. GIF or JPEG, you can, if you're matching background colors, you probably already know this as well, but if you're going to do a background color in Dreamweaver, which is what I'm going to do, that matches a color you've used in Photoshop, you need to save it as a GIF image, and you can match the hexadecimal colors. So in this case, I have a little problem with that logo, so I may want to increase the number of colors in here until it looks a little bit better. You can see increasing the colors up to 64 or 128. The title image is still only 12K, and it looks just about perfect, so I just increase the colors. I'll click save, and I'll just call this title.gif, save it in my images folder, and click save. Okay, now I did crop, so I would do a step backward or an edit undo, just like that, and do file save. Alternatively, we're not going to look at this much in this class, but you can actually slice this image up, and slicing is interesting to look at in Dreamweaver. I'll probably will put a tutorial up on it. I would not recommend that you rely on slicing very much when you're doing your designs, because you can end up creating designs that become very hard to recreate in Dreamweaver with an accessible and usable CSS layout. So that's what you have to be careful of with slicing. So again, just summarizing this tutorial, this is going to be a two-part. So the first part that you're watching right now is how do you do the image part of it. So you got a couple images to start with. Maybe you took the image, maybe you bought it, from a stock photo place. So you want to manipulate these images a little bit into a mock-up, and then break down, get a couple of the pieces ready to build the website. So I did a title at the top with a little logo there, and then I got the menu is going to go right there, and then the main photo. So that's it for part one, and part two I'll go ahead and build the division tag layout in Dreamweaver.